Okay, cool. So what we're going to be talking about today is actually experiencing revival. And we're going to be building off what Serene shared with us yesterday. And so I'm going to start sharing my screen with you guys. And like I just said, experiencing revival. That's going to be our focus today. So we got it defined yesterday. We talked about it. But how do we actually experience it? And to Derek's point, what he just so eloquently restated for us, it's a season of breakthroughs, right? In word, deed, and power that ushers in a new normal of kingdom experience and fruitfulness. And so before we talk about how to experience it and the breakthrough U curve that Serene mentioned yesterday, we're going to get into two aspects of revival that are really important. And so one is relevance and one is remnant. These are kind of two characteristics of revival that you won't actually find in the book, but they are really important to contextualize our moment today. If we want to see revival in 2020, what do we have to be? Well, we need to be relevant and we need to be remnant. So you feel free, just unmute yourselves and jump and go ahead. But if you had to guess what it meant to be relevant, or you had to guess what it meant to be the remnant, what would your guesses be? Anyone can unmute themselves and just throw out some guesses when they think relevant and when they think remnant. What do you guys think of?
Well, relevant could be something that's kind of like going on in the moment. Mm-hmm. So like everyone kind of knows about it.
Yeah. Sorry, when you share, because I'm sharing my screen, could you just state your name so we can all identify who's speaking? So sorry, who said that?
Yeah, that was Samantha.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha. So you think relevant could be something in the moment. Absolutely. Can you give me an example of something that would be relevant right now?
Relevant. Well, some of us are college students.
Mm-hmm.
So is that could be my example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to want to see revival, right, in your own life and in the life of those around you, you're going to have to know how to interact with college students. That's really relevant for a lot of us. Totally agree. Someone else, what else do you think about when you think about being relevant? What does it mean to you to be relevant?
To be relatable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, who said that?
Mai.
Appreciate you, Mai. Yeah, be relatable. Give me two more people. What do you think of when you think of relevant?
Miles speaking. I would say maybe like current or up to date.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we got current, up to date, right? That's really good. And then one more person. What do you think of when you think of relevant?
I would say, this is Julia. I would say that you want to address the needs of the person you're reaching out to, so make it relevant to them and kind of current issues and things that they need rather than what you want to tell them.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved what all of you guys said. You guys are even, I think, a little more bashful than I would be, but I agree. It's being current, it's being up to date. It's contextualizing for your audience. When I think of relevance, personally, I also think of being verified, right? So like, what's relevant? Who's the one who's verified in this thing? How are we going to be that Instagram verified person, or that YouTube influencer, that super popular author or blogger, whatever it is? When I think of wanting to be relevant, I think of our culture's, right, desire to want to be verified, to want to be famous in some sense, to want to be relevant to the culture, like some of you said. And I think in the church at times we have demonized this thought, right, of being Instagram verified or being relevant. But I want to push back. I think that this has a place in the kingdom, right? This is where our culture is going. But how do we use our relevance, right, for the kingdom? We're going to talk a little bit about that right now. So thank you guys for sharing on relevant. When you guys think of remnant, what do you think about? Let's have 4 people share again. Remnant.
My piece of.
One more time, Marty.
Like a piece of something. Or
Okay. Yeah, like a remnant, a piece of something, right? A lasting piece of something. That's awesome. Love that. Love that. Others?
Miles again. Something that was, or like, the remains of something.
Yep, the remains, a piece of the remains. 2 more people. If I haven't heard you yet in the past 2 days, I'd love to hear your voice right now. Someone new. Let's go. Hit that unmute and tell me what you think it means to be remnant.
Isaac here, and probably in the past.
Okay, yep. A piece of something, the remain of something, something in the past, and 1 more person share with us. What do you think it means to be remnant?
A quantity of something, and it's Elise.
Sorry, one more time.
Quantity of something, and my name's Elise.
Thanks, Elise. And you said the quantity of something, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So it's a piece of something that remains, something in the past, something of quality. I agree with all of those, right? So when I think of remnant, right, I'm thinking about the old ways, right? The piece of the past, if you would, that Jesus has left us in scripture and has instructed us. So I think of remnant, I think of the roots of a tree, right? The roots of the tree are the things that are older. It's a piece of the tree, and it's also the part of the tree that holds up the tree. Notice how in this picture, the roots of the tree are actually larger than the stem, right? And the leaves of the tree, but you would never see that. I think at times remnant are the piece of the past that instructs us toward the future. Maybe 20 years ago, we would say, hey, if you're just remnant, if you're just committed to the ways of the past, the good old, Bible ways, then people will follow you. But today it's not enough just to be committed. If you're only committed at times, you can be seen as a bigot, right? You also need to be relevant. You also need to be socially connected to culture. You need to know how to connect, right? If you're only sitting in the remnant, but you're failing to see, right, the whole contextualization of how today in society, Black Lives Matter is within God's kingdom, if you're not socially connected to that, you might not have all of the influence that you long to have. And so I say all this because I think the Lord is asking us to first pursue the remnant and also be relevant, right? I think they go hand in hand. And I think oftentimes we think of them as being 2 separate parts, but I don't think they have to be. Here's a grid for you guys to kind of expand upon this. But if you are only seeking relevance, right? So on our y-axis, if you're only seeking relevance, you'll be really connected. You might have a great social media platform. You might have a lot of people. But what are you doing besides being connected, right? What value are you bringing? And if you're only seeking the remnant, right, then you'll be really committed to something. But if you're committed to something and you don't have the opportunity to share what you're committed to with others, right, to use that for good, I do believe that all of you on this call have a purpose to be used for good, then you also aren't living into the full thing, right? But if you're being both relevant and seeking the remnant, that's when we can become influencing people who change culture, right? So people who are influencers are people who are world changers and who make the world a better place. There are people who create an inclusive culture and they're socially connected to things. So like I said, things like Black Lives Matter, they know how to be inclusive in culture and be socially connected to that. And there are also those who help other people see God's kingdom here on earth. And so when we think of revival, we want to be influencers for the kingdom. We want to influence revival. We don't only want to be super connected. We don't only want to be committed. But revival comes when we're both seeking the remnant and being relevant. And my question to you guys, right, is if you're trying to reach this influencing stage, where do you guys see yourselves leaning? Do you see yourself leaning more towards being relevant, or do you see yourselves more leaning towards being the remnant? So for an easy example would be, I think it's tempting, right, for us as millennials and iGens to put a lot of our identity, a lot of our time into our social media platforms, maybe how many likes, right? Maybe how many blog posts you write, whatever it is. And on the other side, some of us might shy away from the influence side of things, but are really, really committed maybe to your devotional, right, are really, really committed to your prayer life, but it doesn't extend beyond that. It's solely personal, right? It doesn't become a communal thing. There's no relevance to bring to the community. And so I'm going to send you guys into breakout rooms right now. Sarah, if you're there, get ready to send them into breakout rooms. But I'm going to send you guys into the same breakout rooms that you went to yesterday. I'm going to start with this question. Where do you see you guys leaning in your personal life? Do you feel yourself leaning towards the relevant side of things or towards the remnant side of things? Remember, both are good, right? Both are good. We need both to change and influence culture. We're trying to be culture shapers when we're longing and seeking revival. So don't demonize any of them. I think we have a tendency to maybe say one is better than the other. We need both, but they work best when they work together, right? And so go ahead and think about what is your tendency to lean, which way, and what do you need to do in your life, you think, to bring both of those things together. So Sarah, could you send them into breakout rooms right now, please? And you'll be in these breakout rooms for 5 minutes. And you guys can go ahead and mute yourselves as you make your way back in. And once everyone is back, we will start. If you want to share, if you're back here before everyone else, if you want to stay anonymous, that's totally fine. But if you want to share where you found yourself leaning between those two things, it could be interesting for us to see where everyone is leaning. So if you want to type in the chat, if you're leaning towards relevant or remnant, feel free to do that. All right. I think everyone is back now. Yep, we're all back. So welcome back, everyone. If you want to type in the chat, just so that as a group, we can be keeping track of each other, where you found yourself leaning. It'd be interesting to see where the majority of people find themselves leaning. So if you want to type in the chat where you find yourself leaning, and we can kind of just scroll through and see what our peers across college campuses are feeling like. So here we go. Being both relevant, right, and seeking the remnant are going to be really important when we want revival. My name is Reece. Man, these R words are popping today. So we're going to start here, all right, and now we are going to move forward into the breakthrough U curve. So you guys saw this curve yesterday a little bit with Serene. This is probably going to be, not probably, this is definitely the most important thing that I'll say today, is working our way through the breakthrough U curve, and might be the most important thing to take away when you're longing for revival as a leader. And I say that because if you are taking notes, which I hope we all are, this is definitely the time to take those notes and to lock it in, okay? So breakthrough U curve is fundamentally when we are asking God for a shift in the status quo, right? We're going to come to a moment, right, where we're going to want to say, God, this isn't right. I don't want to push for that new thing. And Serene kind of talked about that yesterday. And this is a trend that everyone who pushes beyond that status quo will run into these things. If you look at scripture, right, we look at Mark 10, Mark 7, and Luke 18, right, there's going to be in all of those passages examples of people who are saying, am I going to push through or am I going to pull back, right? It's kind of going to be their moment. Are they going to push through the bottom of this curve and see the breakthrough, or are they going to pull back and say, no, it's not for me? So it's not something that we've made up. It's something that's been tested over hundreds of revivals, literally, and we've seen it happen in scripture as well. So quickly, I have Mark 10 here. I'm going to read it real quickly, and then I just want you guys to unmute. I don't want it to be long, and just tell me, where do you see the moment in this passage of someone having a choice to either press in or to withdraw? I repeat that. I'm going to read Mark 10 for us very quickly, and then I want you to name, just unmute yourself and shout it out, where the moment that you see happens, where this person has a choice to push through the status quo or withdraw. So here we go, Mark 10. As Jesus started on his way, a man ran up to him and fell on his knees before him. Good teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Why do you call me good? Jesus answered, no one is good except God alone. You know the commandments, you shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, you shall not defraud, honor your father and mother. "Teacher," he declared, "all these I have kept since I was a boy." Jesus looked at him and loved him. "One thing you lack," he said. "Go, sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." At this, the man's face fell.
Right there.
Yeah, is that you, Samantha? Mutty? Awesome. I love that. At this, the man's face fell. He went away sad because he had great wealth. Jesus looked around and said to his disciples, "How hard it is for the rich to enter the kingdom of God." So I heard some people shout it out, but it seems like everyone was able to kind of see that moment, right? Just nod if you guys, or send an emoji, whatever. You guys kind of saw that moment where there was a decision, right? Am I going to press in or am I going to withdraw? So this is modeled in scripture, and we're going to work through the breakthrough U curve, and we're going to see what does it look like to work through this thing. And when we have that moment, how do we ask God to come in? So again, I'm going to show this image to us probably 100,000 times today because I want us to familiarize ourselves with it, right? This is the breakthrough U curve. If anyone had to guess, right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a second. If you had to guess, again, someone shout it out or I'll call on somebody. What do you think holy discontent is? If you had to guess, what do you think holy discontent is?
Wanting more out of something.
Wanting more out of something. Someone say more on that.
Being unsatisfied with your
being unsatisfied. I love it. I love it. So that, I think those two things could be discontent, right? You want more, you're unsatisfied. How does the holy side come in to holy discontent? Anyone want to take a stab at it? You guys are all high leaders here. Anyone want to take a stab?
being spiritually anemic.
Can you say more about that for us?
To the point where spiritually you're left in a stagnant and being like depleted where you are.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. So I would say there's two main things that separate holy discontent just from regular discontent. Number one, holy discontent is from God, right? So holy discontent is saying, this isn't just me being upset, but you're actually inspired by something that you see that isn't right because God has revealed that to you. It's not just confirmed by you, but it's also confirmed by those in your community, right? We remember, revival is always a communal act. It's never solely individual. So it's something that's confirmed by God and by those in your community, number one. And the second thing that I would say is it makes you more dependent upon God, not bitter at God, right? So sometimes we see things that aren't right and we get upset with the Lord and we say, God, this isn't right. But we often have two right reactions to that. One makes us turn away from him and say, God, you're messed up. And one makes us say, God, we need you. This is wrong and we need you, right? I depend more on you because I see this brokenness and I need you. So discontent alone makes us bitter, right? Holy discontent makes us more dependent upon the Lord. And so I'll share my screen again because if you guys are taking notes, this is what I would say holy discontent makes you do. It says, I want more of Jesus, right? It's God-given. It's affirmed by others and the community, and is making you, as I said, more dependent on God and not bitter. It desires you to want to work with God. It rises something in you that says, Lord, I want to work with you, right? That'd be number one. Okay. Part number two on the breakthrough U curve, right? I'm going to show this all day, right? So we're at holy discontent. Notice how it's kind of neutral on the curve here. It's not too high. It's not too low, right? We're neutral. We're sitting in this thing. Okay, so we're starting. 2, untested faith. We see kind of this bump in the curve. Take a guess, take a stab. There's no wrong answer. Again, shout it out. If you haven't spoken, please speak. What do you guys think untested faith is? All right, we're going to start calling on people. Ryan Kanashiro, what do you think untested faith is?
Well, I think untested faith, after coming from holy discontent, can mean you are asked to do something and you're not like accustomed to doing it, or you haven't really done it much before. So you're kind of in that kind of conflict, like inner conflict of whether or not you should take that step because you don't know what it's going to bring you.
Yeah, that's a really big part of it. God's asked you to do something, you said, but you've never done it before. That's a really big part of it. I'm going to add on to that, Ryan. One more aspect of that is you've never done it before, but you know God has, right? So you know God has done this thing. You know that he has the power, right? In word, deed, and power to make this thing happen, but you personally have never led this thing. Remember, this is revival leadership, right? If you don't want to be a leader, I love you and I bless you, but we're talking to leaders, and I believe that all of you have the power to influence others. That's my personal belief, right? And so it's saying, God, I've never done this before, but I know that you have. Will I trust you in my untested faith? That's one part of it. Any other aspects that you guys think about untested faith, or ways that we should respond when others come up to us and say, hey, I haven't done this before, but I think God can do it. Do you want to do it with me? What do you guys, how should we respond to that, you guys think? Or how do we typically respond to that? Let's hear from DJ. What do you think, DJ? And Keely, you can actually just answer with him since you're on the same screen. You guys can both give us your thoughts.
What was this also for untested faith?
Yes.
Okay. I think one thought I had is maybe like saying yes to what God is asking you to do, even if you're not really sure what that looks like.
Yeah, saying yes to God even when you don't know what it looks like, for sure. Keely?
Yeah, just like being willing to like step out of the boat and like out of our comfort zones and stuff that might not be what we want to do, but it's what he's calling us to do.
You're dropping that imagery on us. Okay. Some Peter. Okay. Be willing to get out of the boat. Yes. I'm about to use that. Are you willing to get out of the boat? I don't know where your boat's going. I don't know what kind of boat you're driving. It could be a nice boat, could be a rowboat. I don't know. Could be a mega yacht. Maybe you're cruising with like Putin or something. I don't know. But are you willing to get out of the boat, right? And say, Jesus, I trust you. Yes, great way to put that, everyone. Thank you, 3, for sharing that with us. So this is what I would say for untested faith, right? As Ryan mentioned, God has done it before, but we haven't, and that's why it's untested, right? It also brings to a place where we might say, God, I'm ready, but we don't see the things happening that we want to happen, right? And it's untested also for that reason. How we should respond to it, right? We need to stoke that. So if you are someone in your fellowship that's saying, man, I want to see racial reconciliation. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it before, but man, I know God has done it, and I want that, right? Talk to your staff about it. Talk to your co-leaders about it. Talk to your co-members about it. We need to stoke that faith and not quench it and say, well, you've never led that before, or you're a white person, so you can't do that. That's not how God says it, right? Or maybe you're someone that leads a team Bible study, right? Or a campus Bible study or a dorm Bible study, right? But you've never, and you want to see 10 people come to faith this year, but you've never actually given a call to faith, right? We need to come alongside you, right? And you need to come alongside those people if you're a leader in your fellowship and stoke their faith. Don't quench it, right? The imagery that I use here is when you go to a wedding. My wife and I, as you guys know, got married 6 months ago. We hadn't done anything yet. We had literally done nothing together as a couple. There was nothing for anyone to say, wow, y'all are so good, right? Y'all have done this. We had jack squat to prove. Yet everyone came together to stoke our faith, to celebrate us, and to say, we believe in you. What you're going to do for the next 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of your life, we believe in you. And we're going to support you in that, right? Our marriage is untested, but we support them. And that's how we should be responding to people who have untested faith. All right. So point 2, moving to point 3, crucified hope. Don't be intimidated by the language here. All right. I believe in you guys. You guys are crushing this so far. Here we are at crucified hope. When you guys think of crucified hope, what do you think of? Anyone? Let's go. Actually, I'm going to start calling people who haven't spoken yet because I want to hear everyone's voice. My boy, Jacob, when you think of crucified hope, I miss you, by the way, brother. What do you think of?
I guess for me, like, since it's coming after untested faith, I guess since if you said yes and you don't really know like what that entails and it's not exactly the way you thought it was going to be, and it's like a lot harder than it seemed, I guess, when you just first like going into it, I think it can be like sometimes really discouraging or seem that like you can't do it because it's not the way you thought it was in the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It can be discouraging because it wasn't what you thought it would be. Totally. One way that we talk about that actually in our language around revival is what's happening is not meeting our expectations, right? What we expected to happen is not actually happening the way we thought it would. And so when we reach this point of crucified hope, we actually need to drop our expectations, right? God, I thought that I was going to go to USC and Occidental and do XYZ as a staff member. What I thought about coming to LA is not happening. It's okay. But what I am doing is saying, God, I'm going to raise my expectancy. I'm going to drop my expectations of what I think should happen, and I'm going to raise my expectancy in you, right? So I've raised my expectancy in what God wants to do, even though it doesn't match my perfect plan and my experiences or what I've done before. And God is beginning to revive teams at Occidental College. We have 9 leaders next year as opposed to 0 2 years ago, right? Women who said that they audibly said ew about Jesus in the past are coming to Bible studies, right? And are, I think, going to give their life to Jesus very soon. And so I say this because you have to drop expectations in this crucified hope and raise expectancy. Yeah, Jacob. What are other things that come to mind when you think about crucified hope? Anything, any guess? We're going to ask Matthew Lim. When you think about crucified hope, what do you think of?
So just like what, I'm sorry, I remember the person's name, but just like he was saying, sort of crucified hope is like kind of this, like you guys were saying, like lowering your expectations, like kind of putting down kind of your hope in like of like what you want. So it's kind of like you're placing God's expectancy above your own, sort of to say.
Yeah, that's
I think that's like kind of just crucifying your kind of your flesh wanting of it, and more putting towards what of God.
Man, yes, you could not have said that better. Praise the Lord for you speaking right there. Right, I'm thinking of Ephesians 3:20. Right, God can do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or imagine. Right, so when we let our hope be crucified and let the hope of the Lord and expect Him to move, what He's going to do is going to be so much more than what we could ever expect on our own, right? So again, for those of who are taking notes, here we go. Crucified hope, right? We kill expectations, we raise expectancy, Ephesians 3:20. And one thing is that even as we say, God, I'm going to lay my desires down before you. God, I'm going to say, you know what you want to do, you go ahead and do. We're still going to hold on to God, right? We're going to hold on tight to God through this thing. It's about to get kind of rocky here. You can see where this thing is going, right? Revival doesn't come easy. It doesn't come for those who don't want it. It doesn't come to those who aren't committed to it, right? It's the remnant and the relevant. But the things that we thought could happen, God will blow our imagination in unbelievable ways, right? That's crucified hope. All right, crisis of faith. What do you guys think this could possibly be? Crisis of faith. And then also, you can see it says loop of despair here. So these two things are intertwined. Crisis of faith and loop of despair. Just by the way, y'all are killing it right now. What do you think it could be? Here we go. Who have I not heard from yet? I don't think I've heard from you, Julia. And I would love to hear your voice if you don't mind sharing. What do you think crisis of faith could be?
I would say it's like when you've reached your lowest moment, and you feel far from God, nothing has gone how you want it to go. And you're sort of questioning kind of why you even started doing what you're doing in the first place. And then the loop of despair is kind of like you get stuck in that cycle and you can't get out of it. And instead of like turning to God, then you're just kind of wrapped up in doubts and just like, why is it happening this way kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. So there's two things that you said that I really liked. I liked all of it. But you said you question why you even decided to do it in the first place, right? Like, why did I ever do this? And you begin to turn, you said, right, from God, and you get trapped in this loop of despair. Man, Lord, I had this thing from you. I was excited about it. I even said, God, take my dreams and you can do it your way. And now nothing's happening, right? And man, I am bummed right now, God. In fact, like, you're doing the opposite. I saw this thing and it's getting worse, right? again, to go back to our thing, racial reconciliation is getting worse. I'm just going to give up on it. There's no way that this could happen, Lord. Like, I hate this, right? In fact, are you even good? Are you even worth it? Did I even hear from you in the beginning, right? It's all these thoughts that get caught in us. This is the moment, really, when we talk about we have a decision to make, right? Are we going to make a decision to press through, right? Or are we going to make the decision to withdraw from it, right? Revival comes to those, right, who contend, right? Who contend for what God has told them and who know their calling, right? If you want revival to come, you have to know your calling and you have to contend even when it's hard. Other people, when we're in this crisis of faith, right? What do you think our tendency to do is when we're there? Let's hear from someone who I haven't heard from yet. So maybe Lex, just thinking about this crisis of faith. You said, God, I'm ready. God, use me. Let's do this thing. I'll lay it down. And then it's all going wrong. I don't know. You think you've ever been there before? Maybe you're not, maybe you haven't. But what do you think the tendency would be for us when we're there?
So interesting you say that, because I think this past year, anyone who knows me has known I've had a rough year. Oh. So when you say like loop of despair and things like that, I think I just experienced that. It was where everything I knew about God was being tested. Like even fundamental things that I have been telling myself since I was little, those things are coming into question. So the despair comes in when there's a little tiny part of me that still wants to fight for this hope of revival for something, but there's just all these doubts, and it was a lot of learning how to turn that doubt into something that grows faith. But that's probably the next step. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Lex. That's brave. What you just did was really brave to share on this call in front of everyone. It's courageous. And I believe that God has you in this room. I had known nothing about you other than that you emailed me yesterday that you couldn't make it. Thank you for emailing me. But I think God has you in this room and had me call on you right there for a reason. I think God is saying, don't let go of that hope. I'm with you. In the darkest of nights, I am with you, Lex. When you're doubting everything, I am with you and I love you. Would you hold on to me, right? And the funny thing about crisis of faith, Lex, is that that's actually the point when breakthrough is coming. But it gets the hardest right before that breakthrough comes. In the name of Jesus, I just pray that you would hold on, because I know that breakthrough is coming, because history shows breakthrough is coming, because the Bible shows breakthrough is coming. But I get it's not easy, sister. And I know it's hard, and I've been there too. So thank you for sharing. Whoever's in her group, would you guys just pray for her when we go into breakout rooms? Because, man, that is so powerful. And you have blessed this group by opening up like that. Thank you so much, Lex. I really appreciate you. So we have a live example. I don't think I need to say too much more about it, guys. But crisis of faith, if you follow this loop, right? It's the moment when we have faith and we're expectant of God, but nothing is working, right? It's not even an evil thing. It's when we're saying, God, I want you to move. We don't see anything happening, right? It can feel like the darkest of night when we in good faith trusted the Lord, right? And we don't see anything happening in our life. Maybe for you, it's in a relationship. Maybe, again, it's around racial reconciliation. Maybe it's around your campus. Maybe it's around your family, right? Maybe it's around a relationship that you have with a sibling or a dear friend. Maybe it's around a sin pattern that you've asked and repented for, but it just keeps coming back. Whatever it is, I think there are moments in our life where we feel like we are in this crisis of faith, right? And when our temptation is to say, God, nah, this ain't it. And instead of laying this crisis at the foot of the cross, we walk away from the cross because of the crisis, right? This is also the point, though, right, in this third bullet here, where we can't pretend to do it on our own. I'll be honest with you guys, I can manufacture, and Serene talked about this a little bit, I can manufacture a holy discontent if I really wanted to. I could get excited to do something new, right? I could say, God, whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. But I cannot get through a crisis of faith without the Lord, right? This is when I'll be stripped down to who I really am and say, God, I'm desperate for you, right? To move in word, deed, and power. We need God to come through in word, deed, and power. And it's this example of
to me, when you're going through that storm, right? And I just imagine, I don't know why, but when I think about this, I imagine a ship, right? Are you gonna get out of your boat, to Keely's point? I imagine a ship going through a storm, and there's just this rope, this thick rope, and we can get tossed by this storm, right? We can get thrown out of the boat. But for me, it's, am I gonna hold on to that freaking rope no matter what? Am I gonna hold on to Jesus when everything around me is dark, when the rain is heavy, when the lightning and thunder is coming, right? Am I gonna hold on and squeeze it, right? And when you do, I think the Lord begins to say, hey, I see you and I'm with you, right? In the darkest of nights, I see you and I'm with you. If you look at the gospel, right? The darkest of days in the history, right? That we know, when Jesus died on the cross for us, God said, hey, I love you and I see you and I'm with you. I have not left you. And by his resurrection power, right, we can preach the hope that comes when even in the darkest of times we say, God, I'm with you. I know you're with me and I want you to break through. So that's kind of point 4 there. And then we went to point 5, right? So if we can hold on to the darkest of nights, if we can hold on, right, then we reach this point of revived hope, right? So notice the hopes are parallel with one another. One is a crucified hope, but one is a revived hope. When y'all think of revived hope, what do you think of? Jalaiah, would you mind, or Jayla, excuse me. Jayla, would you mind sharing with us what you think about when you think about a revived hope?
I think that, again, like what we talked about, we just talked about like not feeling Jesus or like wanting to feel Jesus. So I think it's like when you're like unsure about your faith, you're unsure about your relationship, but then when you, whatever that may be, when you get that, that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know, like answer that. I don't know. It's like, it's a word. I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of right now. But when you get, when you see God finally work in your life, and you finally like get that answer from Him, I think that's like what that is. You like, you kind of get like that revival in your hope, and you're like, yeah, it's like I feel Jesus with me. I know He's with me. Like I don't have to like question that anymore.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Kind of like what I think of it.
Yeah, you've begun to see God do something that you've been praying for and fighting for and hurting for a long time. Yeah. Jenny, would you mind going next first? When you think of this word revived, right? We have crucified to die and then revived hope. What do you think, how do you think revived plays into this whole picture here?
Sorry, I like blanked out for a second there. So you said for, which part is this? For
revived hope. How do you think revived plays into this picture here? We have crucified hope and we have revived hope. How do you think that revived plays in?
I think it's like, you know, we look at the like the stuff with the dark, or like the crucified, crisis of faith. And like, I feel like in those times where we're like clinging on to God and everything, clinging on to Jesus, that's when we are like, you know, that's when our faith is like seriously tested. It's like, do I truly believe these things? Like, is it, you know, can I rely on God on this? And I think that's when the like revived faith comes in. You know, that's when, you know, we can, even if we don't like start to see those things happening and things that we were hoping to happen, it's just like in those times, that's when God meets us.
Yeah.
And like, that's when He truly, like, I guess, like kind of comes in and is just like, here I am. I told you I was here this whole time, and you can trust me with all this, and I will be there with you during this.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said about like it was crucified, right? And you, when you were speaking, I thought of the cross. Actually, and I hadn't ever thought about this parallel before. But Jesus was crucified, right? And that was a time when we had to lay our expectations down. They thought that He was going to be the next king. They thought that He was going to lead the rebellion against the Romans. That was their guy, right? He was like, man, we're about to roll these fools. And then the dude was in the grave, right? And all their expectations were laid in the grave with Him. I guess He's gone, right? And there was those darkest of dark 3 nights were they without Him, right? And then he rose on the third day, 2 nights, excuse me. And then he rose. And all of a sudden, their hope was revived. The disciples weren't yet living in a new normal, right? They were still questioning, but they had hope. When he appeared to Mary, right, they said, wow, we have a new hope. But it wasn't the hope that they thought he was. He wasn't going to be the revolutionary king. He was actually going to be something so much better, right? He was going to be the eternal king. And he said, but do you trust me, right? And so revived hope is when in our own lives we begin to see the thing that felt like it was dying inside of us. Maybe our hope was dying, right? We had to kill what we thought we wanted or had. God says, I have something better for you, and I'm still here. And we begin to see it, and we begin to taste it, right? We're not yet at that new normal, but we're beginning to see and to taste how God is with us in it. And so we've experienced some hope, right? Some of this kingdom breakthrough, but we aren't completely there yet. But we already know when we hold on what happens, right? We know, we've seen what happens when we hold on, right? In crucified hope and in the darkest of nights, right? So we can say, God, I'm going to continue to hold on to you. I can see that you're doing something here, and I can't wait that thing happens. And when we do that, we reach stage 6, right, of breakthrough faith. I think at this point, we can kind of guess what breakthrough faith would be, but what do you guys think breakthrough faith is? Let's hear from Soon. Would you mind sharing with us, Soon?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, it's just more of a faith that we have. Basically, a faith that is based on the goodness of God alone, knowing that He's faithful and everything works together for good. And I feel like it's when we crucified our flesh and we just based everything off His goodness in our life. And no matter what happened, we'll get through it because we believe that He is a good God.
Yeah. It is knowing that no matter what happens, we can get through it for sure. I agree with that. When we're longing for revival, right, and we see ourselves work through this curve and we reach breakthrough faith, what else do we think God does? Aside from saying I'm a good God, what else do you guys think God will do when you reach that level of breakthrough faith? Maddie, what do you think?
What God does when, can you say the question again?
Just what do you think happens in breakthrough faith?
I think it's like the result of the trials beforehand, and the outcome.
So how do you think you will be different than before then? Or will you be different than before?
Like more willing to weather the negative parts, because you know what comes out of it.
Yeah. And not only, I think, are you more willing to weather, right? But we're also living in that new normal, right? So that new normal that we talked about, right? That season, right, of new normalcy and kingdom fruitfulness comes when we reach that level of breakthrough faith. And so you guys know this already, but breakthrough faith comes, and then we begin to live in this season, right, of breakthroughs in word, deed, and power. When we in our own life and the lives of those around us, we begin to see a new normal of kingdom experience and fruitfulness. And again, going back to our expectations, what we thought God was going to do when He placed holy discontent on our hearts actually is so much greater, right? He has exceeded our expectations. And so I'm going to share with you my college experience real quickly in the next 2 minutes. But I went to Amherst College and played football there, like you guys know. And these are my 3 best friends. When I arrived at college, this guy, number 10, right, was next to me in the locker room. And I said, hey, man, I'm a Christian. And he said, cool, me too. And at the time, there were 4 people, right, in our fellowship of 1,800 people on campus. 4 people in InterVarsity. And he had said, but I want more. This guy said, I want more. He was a junior at the time, and I was a first year, number 10. He said, I want more, and I've been praying. I've been crying, like literally. I've been crying at the foot of my bed every night, asking God for more. And so as brothers, we began to meet together. We began to pray together, right? We began to say, God, we want you. We made it a goal. No matter what, we would meet every single day to read scripture, to pray, and to confess every single day. So it was, sometimes we meet at 5 a.m. before lifts. And sometimes, I'm not exaggerating, we meet at 1 a.m. in the morning after we finished homework. But every day we began to pray together. And then slowly, right, God was saying, hey, this isn't just about you two. It isn't about your dreams. It's not just about you wanting to be these great football players, but I actually have something more for you, right? And so my sophomore year, he got this group to come to Urbana with us. I'm sure some of you have been to Urbana before, but he began to do a work that was so much greater than us. And I began to see, wow, Lord, it's not just about me having influence on my team or with my best friend, right? But you're actually doing something on this campus, and I have no idea what you're doing, right? And then it got really hard because our staff member is this lady in the middle, and her name is Angela. And she's from Nigeria, and she's an awesome leader. But I grew up in a white church, and I began to see at Urbana my sophomore year how that church had actually hurt a lot of my brothers and sisters of color. In fact, even as a native Hawaiian, I had no idea what that meant to be native Hawaiian. My dad's born in Japan, but I didn't know what that meant. I always was taught to kind of pass as white, to accept that. And so we started to get into some conflict with our ministry. There started to be deep divides. There started to be fights amongst ethnic groups. And it was really hard for us to continue. But Angela pulled us all together. She assigned a leadership team of 7 that wasn't even voted on or applied for. She said, God told me that you 7 are meant to come together. And there was a ton of us of different ethnic backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and different giftings. And she said, I want you guys to pray together and to begin to long for more. And as this group began to come together and cross barriers, all of a sudden, God began to give us a revived hope about how he was going to bring our campus and our kingdom together across ethnicities, right? Across our football teams, across, sports teams, across all these boundaries that existed at our small little liberal arts campus. And it grew into a fellowship, right? That was multi-ethnic, right? That spanned from first year to seniors, where we loved each other. My first year on campus, we had 0 people come to faith. My sophomore year, we had 1. My junior year, we had 17. And my senior year, we had over 40. So God did a little revival on our campus that spanned generations and spanned ethnicities, right? It was good news for everyone. And that's what revivals are, right? And I really sit here today because of that. And even in that small story, you can see the holy discontent, right? The excitement, the crucified hope, right? The darkest night, revived hope, and breakthrough faith. And so I have no doubt that no matter where you are, you're somewhere on that timeline. Maybe you have never had holy discontent and God's calling you to have it. But I imagine that some of you are more between crucified hope, right? A crisis of faith, or revived hope. And so I'm going to send you off into breakout rooms for the next 7 minutes. And you're going to have the chance to share in your breakout rooms. Where do you think you are and why, right? And pray for each other. So you have that for 7 minutes. And then we're going to have a chance to come back and to respond to what God was speaking to us in our breakout rooms. So identify where you are and pray for each other through those. So rooms are open. You can go, and I'll see you back here in 7 minutes.
Reece, I actually had a question.
Yes, you can just hold until. How long will it take to answer?
Just like really quickly.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just wondering, like, because I know in Holy Discontent you said that, like revival has to be discontent in community also, but then you're also talking a lot about like personal revival in your relationship with God and like other things. So like revival just like also be in yourself.
Yeah. So if you want to see revival, you should draw a circle, and that revival is going to start within that circle. Meaning revival always starts within us, but then it spreads to those around us. So I completely agree with you, Angela. It's always going to start as a personal thing, but a true revival isn't solely personal. It expands to being communal. Okay. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. That's a great question, though. Great question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Mel's now going to lead us. Mel Jean is going to lead us in a time of response, of worshipful response. We are having a little bit of difficulties with the lyrics, so I might end up putting them on afterwards. But for this first song, I really just want you guys to let the Lord search your hearts and ask him, hey, where am I in this thing? I think you guys just self-identified with that. But why am I there? And if you long for more, if you long to see a season of new normalcy and fruitfulness and see God move in word, deed, and power, ask him to come in to invade your heart right now as Mel leads you. If you want to black your screen, you can go ahead. You can take up whatever worship posture you want. But let's just let this be a time where we can respond to God and say, Lord, I want to move to that next place. Would you move me there? Would you be doing a work in me? Would you help me to long for this thing more? Some of us might need to hold on tight in the season that we're in right now. Others of us might need more discontent. Some of us might need to just lay our expectations down. Some of us might need to see the work that God's already done in reviving our hope. Whatever it is, would you open your hearts and let him lead us? So, Mel, if you want to go ahead.
For those who are able, whether that's standing or kneeling or sitting on the floor, like whatever you need to do. God, in the things that we're seeking, we ask that you would show us yourself. There's a grace when the heart is under fire, another way when the walls are closing in, and when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire standing next to me. There was another in the water holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears a burden where another died for me. There is another in the fire. My dad left for death beneath the water. I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. And should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning, either way I won't bow to the things of this world. I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire standing next to me. There is another in the water and holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminding what power set me free, there is a grave that holds nobody. Now that power lives in me. There is another in the fire. Whoa, there is another in the fire. Whoa, and I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between wears thin. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. Come what may in this space between all the things unseen and this reckoning, I know know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the water, you're holding back the sea. And should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be.
Yeah, as Mel and I were preparing this time, that song just really kept resonating with me. And it's simple, but I feel like the Lord wants someone in this group to know that He's in the fire with them. I think some of you right now might feel like you're in that crisis of faith or in that loop of despair, or maybe you're just in crucified hope, but it feels like you're in the fire, like you're going through something and you don't know if Jesus is standing in there with you. You don't know if God is with you. And I feel like He's telling me that He is so next to you and that breakthrough is coming, but you need to hold on, right? In Daniel 2, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego got thrown into the fire for their faithfulness to God, He said, I'm with you. Evil will not overcome. And so if that's you, if you feel like you're in the fire right now and you don't know if Jesus is next to you, will you just message me so that I can pray for you after this? Because I would love to be able to pray for you through that and for your group to come around you with that. So if that's you, if that word is for you, we can do that. And Mel, I think this to Spirit break out now. Yeah. I'll share my screen for this one.
Let's continue to lean into God's Spirit towards worship. We want to invite you to keep responding to what Reece, to the prayer prompt he was sharing. So feel free to reach out. And our Father, in all of heaven rolls your name, sing louder. Let this place erupt with praise. Can you hear it? The sound of heaven touching earth. The sound of heaven touching earth. Our Father, all of heaven rolls your name, sing louder. Let this place erupt with praise. Can you hear it? The sound of heaven touching earth. The sound of heaven touching earth. Spirit break out and break our walls down. Spirit break out and heaven come down. And our Father, and all of heaven rolls your name, sing louder. Let this place erupt with praise. Can you hear it? The sound of heaven touching earth. The sound of heaven touching earth. Spirit break out and break our walls down. Spirit break out. heaven come down. King Jesus, you're the name we're lifting high, your glory shaking up the earth and sky. Revival, we want to see your kingdom here. We want to see your kingdom here. Spirit, break out and break our walls down. Spirit, break out and heaven come down. Sing his name. King Jesus, you're the name we're lifting high, your glory breaking up the earth and sky. Revival, we want to see your kingdom here. 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 We want to see. And mountains are still being loosed. And strongholds are still being loosed. And God, we believe, 'cause yes, we can see it. The wonders are still what you do. And bodies are still being raised. Giants are still being slain. And God, we believe, yes, we can see it. That wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do, 'cause we need to move. We need to move. We need to move. We need to move. And bodies are still being raised. And giants are still being slain. Oh God, we believe, yes, we can see it. That wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do, 'cause we need to move. We need to move. We need to move. We need to move. And miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. Sing miracles, miracles. Miracles happen when you move. is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. Your miracle. Miracles happen when you move. Revival is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming, and we need a move. And we need a move of your power, God. We need a move. We need a move. And we need a move. We need a move. We need a move. We need a move. And we are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. We need a move. We need a move. And you are our move. We need you to move in our dead places. You are our move. God, you're the answer. We need a move. And we need a move.
God, we need you to move. Father, we're desperate for you. Or are we, God? Or are we? Are we desperate for you, God, enough to trust you? God, are we desperate for you enough to leave our dreams at the door? Or are we desperate for you in ways that is convenient for us? Are we desperate in ways that fits our mode of what desperation means? I was reminded when Mel was seeing Spirit break out. It's funny, that line, revival, we want to see your kingdom here. That was the line that during my summer conference of my sophomore year, me and fellow classmates at Amherst sang that with our hearts at our summer conference. And it was our junior and senior year that after longing to see God move, he began to break out in ways that we could have never imagined. And I feel like some of you need to long for that, but in bigger ways. Some of you really want to see a friend come to faith, or want to be a leader of a dorm study or a team study or an area leader. But I feel like God is saying, man, I want more for you. I have more for you. Come and want it. Come and see it. Come and long for it, right? Let your desire for me mark you. So I encourage you guys to lean into that, right? Let's lean into what God really has for us to more. We want more. I think some of us even think that we're making our way through the curve and it's kind of comfortable. Like we're seeing good things happen. But man, God has so much more for you. His blessing is coming. The breakthrough is coming, but let's long for more. Mel, did you want to share anything that you feel like the Lord's put on your heart?
Maybe just one thing I'll share is that I think some of us, we might find ourselves in that cycle of despair or in crises of faith in our life where, if we're honest, we've actually stopped longing for revival for that part of our life because we just haven't seen it. It's still a dead place in our life. And my hope is that even if it's one step of God just inviting us long for this again, right? Go after this again. I'm giving you permission. I'll give you the strength to do that. And I can take your disappointment. I can take your broken hope. I want to, I hope that for those of us that feel in that place. And then the other thing, Reece, I know we're over time, but if folks, I feel like there are some people that need to process some things that God did in them. And so I don't know if you want that to be in breakout rooms for those who want, who are able to stay, or if we want to do it here. But I think that'd be an important piece for the folks that want to do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I'm going to send you guys back into your breakout rooms right now, just like yesterday. And if you have time, you can stick around. And if you don't, no worries. I think Mel and I might also stick around for a couple minutes in this room for those of you who want to pray. So yeah, we'll do that. I just sent the sign-in form if you haven't signed in yet, as well as a document just kind of recapping what we went over today, as well as yesterday a little bit. So those 2 Google Docs there for you guys. I love you all. I want to long for revival with you. So wherever you are on the breakthrough curve, let's long for God to press into deeper. One more thing. Angela had a great question. She said, Reece, what if it starts in me? Like, what if it's not just a communal thing, but a personal thing? And there's one last bit of revival that I forgot to share and just want to share real quickly before we go. And that's this picture right here, right? So I told Angela, if you want revival, right, you should draw a circle around your body and then look around that circle, because revival is going to start within that circle. Revival always starts within yourself. And there's levels to revival as well. It can be personal, it can be communal, regional, national, and global. So the level of revival that I experienced at Amherst was just communal. It's just a taste of what God really can do and wants to do. But it always starts personally with you. So with that, I pray that you are being revived this SummerCon, no matter where you are on the breakthrough U curve. I love you guys. Again, Mel and I will stick around here, but you're free to go to your breakout rooms now. Yeah, love you guys. See you tomorrow.